I used to take down enemies with just a piece of rope. Now I'm getting fined by the HOA for a potted plant. Life's funny like that, right? Folks look at a quiet man, just trimming hedges, minding his own business. What they don't see is what happens when you push that man too far. Especially when you come after the one person he'd do anything to protect. You know what I mean? This isn't your average HOA squabble. No, sir. This was a reckoning, and it started with a single knock at my door. I remember it clear as day. If you think retirement means peace and quiet, you've obviously never lived in a neighborhood run by a power-hungry madman with a grudge. Let me back up a sec. My name's David Peterson, and this is how my so-called peaceful suburban life turned into a battlefield, how I had to dust off skills I hoped I'd never need again. See, my wife Elena and I, we moved to Willowbrook 3 years back. Thought we'd found our own little slice of heaven. She's an architect, always had an eye for design that just blows me away. She made our backyard look like it belonged in a magazine. Terraced flower beds, a fountain, even the lighting at night was like something out of a movie. Me? I handled the dirtier jobs, trimming, fixing, sweating. Folks would say our yard was perfect, every edge straight, every plant in its place. They had no idea that kind of precision was hammered into me during 20 years in the service. You come home, or you don't, no in between. Then, about 6 months ago, everything changed. Richard Harrison got himself elected HOA president. The last president was just a retired teacher, more interested in lawns than drama. Richard was different. Mid-50s, ex-military, walked around like the world owed him something. He wore his authority like a Halloween costume 2 sizes too small, always reminding us he was in charge now, and things were going to be different. First thing he did was announce a stack of new rules. You'd have thought we'd moved into boot camp. Grass couldn't be over 2.5 inches. Door colors had to be approved by a committee, his committee. Even where you put your flower pots was suddenly his business. It started small. First Tuesday, a violation notice, typed up like some government document, said our grass was too high. $200. Elena was furious, measuring the lawn with a ruler, cussing under her breath. I paid the fine. 2 weeks later, another notice. This time, our door's too blue. Been that shade for years, but suddenly it's a $350 problem. Elena started a little notebook. Every weird thing she noticed. Carol Jenkins, Richard's new assistant, kept snapping pictures of our place. A camera appeared on the utility pole, aimed right at us. When Elena called the utility company, they played dumb. That's when I knew it wasn't petty anymore. Illegal surveillance? That's a line you don't cross. I installed my own security system, nothing fancy on the outside. But inside? Night vision, wide angles, everything wired to a laptop. One night, Elena found me soldering in the garage. She saw an old photo of me in desert camo, next to a Special Forces sign. She didn't say anything, but after that, I could see her looking at me different, like she finally got why some scars run deeper than skin. Richard? He'd look at me with this intensity, like he was trying to remember where he'd seen me before. Once, at the mailbox, he asked if I'd served overseas. I played it cool, but I could feel the gears turning in his head. Carol kept snapping photos when I was out back, and I realized she'd seen my tattoo, the trident. Small, faded, but if you know, you know. By week 4, the fines hit $750. Too many garden decorations, they said. Elena was near breaking, and so was I. But I waited. Richard was testing me, looking for a crack. That night, Elena asked, "David, what aren't you telling me?" 20 years of marriage, and she'd never asked about my nightmares, or the old wounds, or why I sometimes reach for a weapon in my sleep. I just said, "Trust me. I'll handle it." The escalation came fast. Elena found out the camera's cable ran to Carol's shed. No permits, nothing in city records. Richard knew our schedules, my office hours, her work from home days, everything. This wasn't HOA business. This was stalking. Then Richard brought in enforcers Max and Jake. Built like linebackers, all muscle, no brains. Elena and I watched them shake hands with Carol and Richard out front, all three glancing our way. That's when I knew this was past harassment. It was war. Dead plants showed up on our porch. Elena's car got keyed at the store. Someone carved a word I won't repeat. Trash dumped on our lawn. Police said it was just kids, but I'd seen this before. Psychological warfare, meant to wear you down. Elena was scared, looking over her shoulder, asking if we should move. I saw Richard watching from his window, like he was conducting some twisted symphony. Tuesday morning, I called in sick and shadowed Richard. Saw him meet a nervous guy in a suit, hand over a folder, talk for an hour. This was a planned operation, and we were the only targets. Then, the hammer dropped. I had a meeting downtown, Elena home alone. She texted, Carol and two big guys at the door, emergency inspection. My blood froze. I watched on the cameras as Carol, Max, and Jake came in, claimed they had the right to search for dangerous materials. Elena, ever the good neighbor, let them in. That was her mistake. They trashed the place, Elena's pottery smashed, wedding photos shredded, my military commendations destroyed. Then they tore up her garden, the fountain, everything she built with her own hands. Elena tried to call the cops. Max grabbed her phone and smashed it. When she tried to pick it up, Jake shoved her so hard she nearly fell. Lady, when are you going to stop being so stubborn? Max yelled in her face. Sell this dump and get out before things get really ugly. Carol filmed it all, smiling. I made the 20-minute drive in 12, running lights, praying I wouldn't be too late. When I arrived, the front door was hanging open, Elena sobbing inside. Max and Jake were still gloating. They never heard me come in. You know those movies where the quiet guy suddenly turns? That was me. Max went down first, pressure point, knee, done. Jake swung wild. I countered, put him down clean. Carol froze, dropped her phone. I used the garden hose to tie them up. Old habits die hard. Elena was shaking, but okay. David, who are these people? And who are you? She asked. Those people, I said, just made the mistake of attacking my family. Now it was time Richard learned why some folks called me Vulture. What happened next? We dug into Richard's past. Dishonorable discharge, classified files, betrayal on a mission that got men killed. Our old neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, mentioned that Richard once talked about settling a score with a special forces guy. It all clicked. This wasn't random, it was payback. We got evidence, Carol's files, Richard's confession on tape. At the HOA meeting, I rolled in with the video of Elena's assault, showed my trident tattoo, laid out the whole ugly history. Richard tried to bluff, but Carol broke, confessed everything in front of the whole community. Richard was done. My demands? He resigns, apologizes, pays damages, and faces the law. He tried playing the victim, called in a sleazy lawyer to say I was dangerous, unstable. Nice try. But the community had seen the truth. When he sent real criminals to finish the job, I was ready. 6 men, middle of the night, armed, professional, but I was waiting. The fight was messy, but Elena and I survived. She saw everything. David, I don't care who you were. I care who you are now, she told me. Never loved her more. Richard's whole operation unraveled. Police, feds, neighbors, all saw him for what he was. Elena was elected HOA president. First order, rebuild the rules. Make sure nobody ever held that much unchecked power again. The neighborhood healed. Our house was rebuilt, our garden more beautiful than ever this time, as a monument to surviving hell together. Standing there, coffee in hand, I told our story straight into the camera. Never underestimate the quiet neighbor. Never assume someone can't fight back. And if you threaten a Navy SEAL's family, don't be surprised when the vulture comes hunting. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them just want to be left alone. But when you push too far, you find out what they're really made of. So, what do you think? Did I go too far, or was justice served? Drop your thoughts below, because, in the end, it's the community that decides what kind of place we want to live in.